Hey, how's it going? It's nice to see you around these parts again. It's been, gee, I don't know, maybe like a week? That's right, and this week, we're talking about my song, Just a Dream, which is not just a dream anymore because it's already been released for like a year. But anyways, we're gonna talk about it. I'm gonna hop right into it because there's kind of a lot to talk about with this one. First of all, I just wanna start by saying everything in this is like from scratch. Obviously not like the drum samples and like the whatever, blah, blah, blah. But like all of the melodic loops, I didn't use any samples. I just did this all from, I had an idea and I took it from that idea into a full blown production. So the first thing that I did was I started with this guitar, which I came up with this melody line and played this and looped it. Ran it through some plugins, obviously, but we'll hear it dry first. So it sounds like this. Really nice sounding, isn't it? Now, it sounds like this. It's very quiet. After plugins, which I have on it, channel EQ to take out some of the low end, decapitator to give it some body, because it was a little going in. Micro shift. Got the nauseator on there. That's a great preset if you want to make something sound strange. And then I have all of these running through a stack, which goes through RC20, another reverb, and then an imager, just to get all of these sounds in this stack out to the side so the vocal could be in the center. So, with effects, it sounds like this. A lot better. I'm trying to remember, it's been a while since I released this. Like I said, probably over a year. I think the next thing I came up with were these guitar chords, which sound like this. And again, no samples. This is all me just coming up with ideas. I think the next thing that came in was this melody here, which is called Puddle. It's a setting on my my Reface DX here. I think that's the next thing that came in was this. Which of course is on a pancake. Why wouldn't it be? If there's anything that you need to know about me, it's that I'm gonna use Pancake on probably every single project that I work on. What can I say? It's just so easy to make something more interesting by having it move around like that. I mean, why just have it sit somewhere? Why not have it just move around a little bit? And if you want to get creative, you can make it pan at random, or you can use Pan Man from Sound Toys and make that truly random. But anyways, the next thing was I wanted to add in a piano. I felt like this was something that piano would sound really cool on. So I have this piano right here. And I remember figuring all this stuff out took a while. I can play instruments, but I'm not super fluent between instruments always. It's sometimes really hard to tell. You can figure out what, I don't know, like a D major 7th is on a keyboard pretty easily. Sometimes it's a little harder on guitar, which is weird because actually I started playing the cello. I started on a stringed instrument, and for some reason figuring things out on the piano is just still easier. But anyways, this piano is... This is kind of the hook arrangement. There's an A and a B section in this song. Not every song calls for it, but I came up with an interesting idea for this one, which was the A section would just be all the stuff from the B section, but reversed. So before we get to that, I'll show you this one last thing, super quick. It's this. When the hook comes in, that just kind of is there to symbolize, like, here's the hook. So with everything all together, it sounds like this. And without that piano hit in there, it sounds like this. So as you can see, it just kind of adds like an emphasis on this is the hook. This is where you're going to hear the hook, which again is just an arranging thing. So that's all of the hook loops kind of out of the way. I think next we'll move on to the verse loops. So like I said, the verse loops, or the A section, as we'd like to call it in our fancy terms, the verse loops are basically most of the loops from the hook that we already talked about. They're just taken and reversed. The only thing that I really changed around was I took some chords out of the piano progression to make it work better and added in some vocals. So the guitar reversed sounds like this, and this is the sound that if you listen to the song will probably be the first thing that you hear. And I'm not the first producer ever to think, oh, I'll just reverse a sample. Like, that's like pretty well known as a meme, like 200 IQ producer, like reverse a sample. But I thought it was interesting to come up with a sample and then make a B section by reversing it. Especially something like this was so easy to reverse because it's, what is that? Da, 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 da. So the piano, I took, I think, this chord right here out maybe. I can't remember though, but they on their own sound like this. So they are very like wavy kind of. Yeah, so I took out this last one. That's what I did. On top of that, we have this vocal, which sounds like this. Which I feel like is something that's kind of becoming a little bit of a signature of how I produce. So what this is I'm noise gating it going in so that these extra little bits here, I'm being lazy. I don't have to trim off all the extra. EQ, took out some frequencies. I use auto-tune, and I change the throat length, so I make it longer, so it makes it less recognizable as my voice, but sometimes I can make it kind of just disappear in the mix. So what I do is then I take it through the little altar boy, and I make a 12 step up of that, 12 semitones up from that, so an octave, and change the dry wet mix to like, you know, wherever it's at right now, maybe like 20%, just to add that extra bit on top. And then I have my reverb on here, just serial, just right after little altar boy. Looks like I have the mix all the way wet, just to make it way back there, so it just feels ethereal. I don't know. It feels Ethereum. Yeah, we'll go with that. And then, you know, microshift again. Ha! Wow, look, microshift. Oh wow, double wow. Pancake. I should be sponsored by Cable Guys. Sponsor me. I love Pancake. I also love Lamp, in case you were wondering. So just to show you, I'll show it to you without the extra octave on top. So it sounds good, and I think it would still be audible, but I just want to make it a little bit more audible by adding this. It's subtle, but it's noticeable. So then the last thing about these is this right here, which is the puddle. This is the puddle reversed. And it looks... I can't remember how I did this. I think I just reversed it straight as it was. So I reversed it just as it was, and I have it running through Faces on Paranoid Humanoid. What a fun name. So maybe with all those together, our verse arrangement sounds like this. Another thing that I added in was I found this percussion loop from Splice. But just to spice it up and make it feel more interesting, I added two, not one, but two phase mistresses. which are both doing, it looks like, the same thing. But you know what? Sometimes things just sound good a certain way and you can't explain why. And sometimes you just gotta go for it. You know what I mean? You gotta just forget about it all. Forget about the rules. There aren't any rules in this. And if there are, you should break them. Break the music rules and laws. Don't use music theory. So it goes through 2 phase mistresses and it sounds like this. So it kind of feels like it moves around you almost. So with all that put together, it sounds like this. It's another subtle thing, but in production, if you can do a lot of subtle things well together, you can make something that's really interesting. So that does it for melodic loops this far. So about the time I was making this was about the time that I got my Model D, which is a Behringer knockoff of the Mini Moog, because who the fuck has however many $1,000s it costs to get a Mini Moog? All right, so anyways, the intro has a bass from the Model D on it, which sounds like this on its own, and I can't remember. Oh fucking god! Yeah, I told you this was gonna be a long one. We're still deep in this. So it has not only this bass, which sounds so good. It also has layered with it the whirly setting, which we've already heard about. It has the whirly setting layered into it from my Reface DX. So that part sounds like this. And then together they sound like this. So these are in a stack, which is a great feature of Logic that I love using. You know I love to put my hats in stacks. Ooh, that's kind of a bar right there, hats and stacks. This stack is being sent to, so I have 2 things going on. One is a kind of a top bass that makes it super wide. So I have it going through a decapitator to just destroy it basically. This UAD Brigade Chorus plugin, which is awesome by the way. And then it's bandpass filtered. And this is interesting because on its own, it'll sound like this. Pretty thin, but it's wide. And it is mushy and phasey and whatever. So you have that part along with this, which is another free plugin actually from whatever this is. I can't remember, Wave Arts, I think. Yeah, Wave Arts, which is a tube saturation plugin. And what I like to do on this is like turn everything down, drive it a little bit, and just crank the bass. Where's the bass? So this will really bring out those frequencies that you're gonna hear like only in the subwoofer. So this is like the rumble. All right, so all those together with the bass we already talked about sounds like this. Which is deep and wide.
That's what she said.
You feel me? So that is kind of the bulk of melodic aspects of this. Let's move on and talk about drums. Let's start off talking about hats. Once again, layering a programmed hi-hat with a live hi-hat just to give that different kind of feel and bounce. Sounds like this. And they're both panned a little bit. I'm trying to make room in the middle for the vocal to sit. So on top of that, we have all these other hats. We have an open hat, a hat roll, a hat low, and a hat accent, which on their own sound like this. All just panned at different places. Not really anything happening with them besides this one, which has it's kind of like a chorus that I created with Echo Boy, but besides that, the rest of them are pretty much just normal. So all together, the hats are like this. And if you notice, there's still a lot of room in the middle for a vocal to go. So layer that percussion loop back in, and it sounds like this. And it just fit perfectly into what I was already doing. The bulk of the drums is really the hats. When I produce, I don't know, I like to go crazy on the hats. That's one of my favorite things. Really all that's left to talk about the drums is the kick and the snare, and those sound like this. And this is not what I am doing anymore, but this kick has the stock Logic distortion on it, and it's being driven by this 550 here. So with the snare, it's a different story. I'm using this snare smack preset that I made for H-comp, which basically just it's like a parallel compression for a vocal, but for a snare, and it's done within H-comp. It makes the snare feel fatter and more full. And looks like I added a little bit of 3K and took out a little 50 on this. It was getting a little, maybe just a little too punchy. So what we have now is this. So as far as drums go, let's just talk about the 808 real quick.
Where's the bass?
808's pretty simple. There was a lot of complicated stuff going on, so I didn't want to make it too active, you know what I mean? So this is also going to an 808 top, which is similar to the Model D top from earlier. It's just to make sure that you can hear it on small speakers. It tends to fill out the frequency range so that it makes a song feel more full. So far, as we're talking about the verse, we have this. Which is a lot going on, which is why I was saying I didn't want to overdo it with this 808, because it would have just been crazy. So for verses and hooks, this is about everything, really. I mean, I guess before we talk about the vocals, why don't we look at this third verse real quick, right? So this third verse has this same piano on it, but I actually clip gained it up 4 dB, which you've already heard, so I don't need to show it to you again. What I will show you is these drums, which could use some explaining. So these drums actually sound like this. So all those drums that sound how they sound on their own sound like this together. And with the piano, it all sounds like this. And then transitioning out of this third verse, what I did was, in Logic you can take, I'll just show you for example, if you hold Alt or Option and you drag a clip like this, you can compress it. So it'll play it twice the speed then. I sped up this puddle to, I don't know, like 4 times the speed or something like that, and it sounds like this. So that kind of transitions us over into this last hook here. So let's talk about these transitions real quick, because this one is the piano reversed. So that leads in really nicely. So on the outro, I have the drums half-timed, the piano half-timed, and the guitar half-timed, which sound like this on their own. And then I have the vocal in here. Portal. So there's the vocal on its own. And you remember what it sounded like earlier. This is why I love Portal, because it can just take sounds and make them into things that just don't even, I don't even know how to describe that really. It just sounds like a dragon underwater. And one thing that I did to make these drums extra kind of smushy and crunchy is I added some tape clipping just to kind of make them feel punchy and crushed, and that's how I wanted this outro to feel. I wanted it to feel just, I don't know, moody, I guess. I wanted it to feel moody, so this is how I made it feel moody. That's it for production. That was a lot. So I figure I'll transition to talking about the vocals by talking about this down here, which is actually from when I made the original version of the song. This is straight from the first day making the first demo of this song. So this is exactly from that day.
And really, I don't know where any of this is going.
Just with a -6 on the pitch and formant in Little Altar Boy.
12:31 a.m.
So I'll talk about these whispers because these are pretty interesting. So what these are is just my vocal pitched up 6 semitones, and then it's sent through an H delay with a micro shift on it. The H delay is set to modulate. It makes it sound like it's rippling through water as it's going from speaker to speaker or headphone to headphone, whatever you listen in. Which is pretty wild sounding. As far as like vocals, there's not a whole bunch of like crazy stuff going on. I've got my main vocal take, which is a comp. So this is my ping pong delay, which the way that I do this effect, where I just delay out one word at a time.
Wanna make a change, you're gonna have to go through hell. I remember nights.
It's super simple. You just take and you cut whatever phrase you want and drop it into another track, and then you can take and make the output of that track whatever bus you want or auxiliary track that you want. Depends on what DAW you're in. They're all gonna call them something different. So you can make it output through a bus, and then at the bus you can add the effect so that you won't actually hear anything through the main track here. You'll just hear, so you won't hear the dry signal anymore. You'll just hear the wet signal as it goes through that bus with the echo on it. The next thing was these pitched echoes, which is just sending it to a bus and then automating little altar boy on the bus. So you have echo boy here and little altar boy. So here's my main
But for
take here.
now, it's just a dream, just a dream, just a dream.
And then my copy of that is an octave down or 12 semitones. But so those together like this.
Just a dream.
And these are both also going to an echo boy that's got a compressor on it. I have this compressor side chained to my hook vocals. What you can do is you can turn the delay way up, and then you can set a compressor to duck the delay when the main audio is happening. So if you want it to be a vocal or a guitar or whatever, it'll duck it so that you can actually hear that, and then it can switch back to the delay.
Now it's just
So
a
if you
dream,
watch the compressor,
just a dream, just a dream. But for now, it's just a dream.
it'll go back and forth like that, and when I pause, it'll go back down, and then all that empty space that would have been there will be filled by delay. And that really does it. This was a long video. I didn't even mention, I'm going to try out different camera angles and different lighting techniques. I really want to get good at doing this. So just let me know if you like the camera angle in this better or the last one better. And if you have any more questions about production or mixing on this one, maybe I can do a whole video where I just talk about the mixing, because it's kind of a lot to talk about production and mixing in one video. Anyways, if you haven't heard the song, you can go check it out on all streaming platforms, wherever you listen to music, it's gonna be there. Yeah, it's dark out now. This time again next week, is that working for you? It's working for me. So this time next week? Yeah, good? All right, cool. Well, be good till then. Don't do anything drastic. Yeah, I'm Spence Brown. This is just a dream. Not this is a video. This song is just a dream. Well, it's real, it's released, but yeah, I'm Spence Brown. This is my song. See you next week.